Hi, Daddy.
Hey guys, Ash and Throw coming at you again with Vet Boss fights. This one is Castle Thorn, starting out with the Dread Tindulra. This fight's just a hairless dog. We're going to kill him up and kind of go through the fight as we progress. Key things to look out here right out of the gate. He does hit pretty hard, so tank's got to be aware. All these bosses pretty much have a one-shot mechanic for a tank if they're not paying attention. But the big part of this, vampires will hate this fight if you're a vampire. There's a ton of fire here. All you have to do is stand out of the fire, stay behind or to the sides of the boss, because boss is doing conal attacks. And then every once in a while, the boss is going to pick a random player, tanked or not, and they're going to jump to that player and they're going to start to eat them. And you'll see kind of red sparks shooting in from the side of them. Somebody needs to go out and interrupt that before that player dies. If you don't interrupt it within a couple seconds, the boss eats the player and the player dies, and you're going to have to res him during the fight. Other than that, pretty easy. Just don't stand in front of them. Make sure you're staying like you always should for your extra damage if you have the backstabber in your CP tree or whatever. It's just always safer to be at a 45 behind a boss, because some bosses do have mechanics where you'll get hit from the back if you're standing directly behind them. So 45 degrees at an angle behind the boss, never in front of the boss like I just was right there where I almost died, and I'm still standing there. Ads are pretty easy to kill. They're not really a big priority. They can just be cleaved down with your regular damage. If you're running any damage that has cleave, they don't need to be single targeted down. They're pretty weak. Just tank and spank and work your way through it, and it's pretty much this boss fight. Just kill him as a priority, use the cleave for the ads, interrupt the ability when he's chomping on somebody, and don't stand in the fire. We'll move on to the next one. So Blood Twilight, you can get this boss to under 50% here. You're doing pretty good DPS wise. In normal mode, he doesn't even come off this platform for us. We kill him in one shot and then we move on. Vet mode, we usually get him to under 50 for sure. This boss, couple mechanics that are kind of cool. All you need to do here is make sure that you block when the blood versions of him appear around the outside of the room. Just make sure you're blocking and attacking, or blocking and heal. You can do it at the same time there. So this first part of the phase, you need to get out of that pool. If you stay in that pool, that's a bunch of tick damage. So while we're up here, see these guys? You block. Every time you see those kind of shadowy versions of the boss in the center come, you block. If you don't block, they knock you into that pool and you take a ridiculous amount of damage. It can be healed through if you're booking ass on your way to the stairs to get up and the healer recognizes where you're at. Other than that, there's that vampire that we're fighting right now. Those guys hit for a ton. After that vampire's dead and the boss comes up to the top of the stairs, or comes up, he does that, see that shooting blood at the tank there? And that's a conal, it's not a straight line. If anybody else is in front of him at that point, they will die. The tank can take those hits, but other players can't. So you always want to make sure, again, behind the boss at a 45-degree angle, don't stand in front of the boss at any given time if you can, and after every one of those blood phases where the boss teleports to the center of the room, you need to make sure that you're not on the same angle as the tank. You need to be on the opposite side of the boss than the tank. Even if the boss is chasing somebody around, always try to stay behind him. Always make sure you block there, kill the vampire. We don't even bother with the guys on the outside at all, unless they're really close to us, is the only time we kill these guys. And other than that, it's a pretty easy fight. You just need to pay attention, make sure your blocks are on point. If people aren't blocking and they're getting knocked into the center, that needs work. It's pretty easy to see. It takes up a lot of the screen, and again, as soon as that phase is over, don't be by the tank. That is just a ton of damage coming out of the boss onto the tank there. And that's the Blood Twilight. It's a pretty fun fight, and we're gonna move on to the next one. Alright, here we got Vadroth. So there's a couple things that you can do with this fight to make it easier for you if you want. We don't, mostly because we don't need to and we're kind of lazy. In the previous room that we were in, you'll see the kind of swords and spears in the ground. They suck you in, you have to kill them, they turn green. You can synergize with them. When you do that, you get a green slime. That green slime is used in this boss fight. And in this boss fight, there is other little synergy spots. Those swords that suck you in, if you kill them, you can synergize with them and get green slimes to come down. So with these green slimes, or scythe right there. Okay, so those scythes, if you take them down, you can synergize with them. Green slimes will come down, and those green slimes, they're small, but they will attack the purple slimes that this boss spawns while you're fighting them. So this boss spawns hard-hitting reanimated vampires and purple slimes that do just a bunch of damage. Those purple slimes can be, well, we completely ignore them. That's why we don't get the green slimes. But if you're having trouble on this boss and there's just too much damage for your healer to handle, go to the previous room, clear it instead of skipping ads, get all the green slimes that you can, make sure you synergize with the scythe here, and then those green slimes will attack all of these purple slimes to get out of here. The other mechanic you need to see is the one we're doing right now. Everybody picks a direction and dodge roll, or just walk and block. Either one works, and then pretty easy. Then you come back, he'll summon another vampire ad, kill the vampire ad, completely ignore the slimes, just heal through it, heal through the boss. Our tank is pretty awesome. He can tank, like, you know, some of the stuff we've seen out tank, because our DPS was slow or my heals weren't right there, because, you know, we're still playing. I think there's only one of us that's over 1,000 CP. The rest of us are around between, you know, 400 and 700. But anyways, we've kind of grown as a guild, and our tank's taken the brunt of that, and has carried us through to the point where our DPS is actually very high now. So we get to skip a few mechanics relying on the good DPS and his tanking. So it's kind of, sorry, I'm just pumping them up a little bit here because they're pretty awesome dudes to play with. Anyways, so tank picks up the vampire and the boss, keeps them faced away so you can get all that extra damage from the back and from the sides. Try to kill down the vampire first. Completely ignore the purple ads unless your healer's struggling. Then you're going to want to synergize, get those green slimes attacking them and killing those purple ads. There's no time limit here. It's at your pace and just mechanic based. So that's boss fight. Hopefully any of that helped you through there, and we'll move on to the next one. So now we got Telfig. This fight can be done two ways. In normal mode, we'd go the right side first. In vet mode, we go the left side first. So Telfig's gonna spawn all the monsters in the room, all 6 of them. I don't know if there's a way to, unless your DPS is ridiculous and you can kill him when he spawns the first 3. I don't know if it's health percentage based or not, but just a lot of AoE damage. So the reason we do the left side of the room first is because we can kill these little ads that he spawns very quickly. The bigger ads have a ton more health, but they move very, very slowly. So we can burn the little one down quickly, get a ton of DPS back onto the boss, and then we kill the middle ad, which has a bunch more health, but they move very slow, so they're nothing you really even need to worry about. So the next mechanic that you need to worry about here, the next guy that spawns the big guys, are always slow movers with AoEs. Pretty much just don't stand in it. Ranged attacks are great here. Melee has it a little bit rough because there's always AoE that's running around them, but they can be kited. They just move slow as shit. So focus on killing the little ads when they spawn, and then focus on the boss. And then after this ad's down, the third ad's down, you're going to see the boss put a fist up in the air and it's going to turn bright red. That is your cue to start moving. There's going to be lasers shooting out all over the place. Those lasers will kill you in vet. A couple ticks with that laser and you're dead. So now the boss has spawned everything on the left hand side. Our DPS moves over to kill the little ad in the center, leaving the 2 big slow moving ads to the outside, because you don't even need to worry about them. They're super easy to dodge. Just take your time, don't panic. Pretty easy. And then you'll see the tank is gonna just kite Telfig throughout the room so we can focus DPS on the boss and burn him down a little bit faster. There's the lasers. You see his hand way above his head. So those, as long as you're moving right up, you know, as soon as possible, those aren't a big deal. So other than that, you see these guys, how slow they're moving. You can just split the defense, run in, do your damage to the boss, move around with the tank. The only thing you need to be aware of is, at this point that's dangerous, is the lasers. So you'll see again shortly here, he's going to raise his arm up into the air and lasers are going to come out. There it is, there's your cue, and you're running. So even backpedaling, you don't got to sprint, you don't got to dodge roll. As long as you're previously moving when his fist starts to glow red before it goes up top, easy move, you're safe, you're good. And then just rinse and repeat. Like, we don't even bother killing these big guys at all because they're just harmless. They're pylons, and just yeah, run between the markers, don't get caught in it, and keep DPS on the boss, and you'll get them down. I know if your DPS is too low, the ads can be overwhelming, but again, just focus on the little ones. That's your main priority. Just kill the little ones, because the big ones can be kited, and just watch out for the flame fist, laser beam doom, and you're good to go. And that's Telfig. Tank set out of here is pretty good, so that's, I think, why we're farming this. Now we're getting into super glitchy, awesome, fun time, final boss of the dungeon, Lady Thorn. So this boss is pretty easy. Just do a bunch of DPS. There's going to be those spawn circles like you just seen there. Just back up a little bit. You don't need to move. Now this is the mechanic that sucks. This mechanic is supposed to move all around the room. After this is going to happen twice at the start, but on the third time this is going to move all around the room, and you need to stay inside it while killing little imps. So you need to kill the imp to synergize with them, and then they create a blood ball that gets thrown at the boss when you synergize with it. You have to do it 4 times to get out of this phase where, see, all the bats and stuff are moving all around the circle. Once you kill 4 imps and synergize with them, the blood will come down, the bats go away, and then you go back into this phase as DPS is normal. On top of that, in vet mode, there is vampires that are going to be coming out as well, and they hit hard, as well as exploding AoEs inside the circle that's moving all around. So it's pretty easy fight if you can stay in that circle. You can jump out of the circle to dodge a couple mechanics for a second or two here or there, but on vet mode, it's after, I'm going to say 3-4 seconds, it's unhealable, because you get a stacking debuff, I think, that just hits you harder and harder the longer that you're in it. Now when we do this part, and we're DPSing her here, and she's going to disappear, I believe. She will do a mechanic where she's alright, so we're in the moving circle phase, so I screwed that up. So moving circle phase, so this is how it's supposed to look like all the time. You'll see the boss coming in, you can actually block through that. As long as you're staying within the circle, you're not taking tick damage. There's the Blood Guardian that I was talking about. Those guys hit very hard. The tank has to pick them up while staying in the circle, while the DPS is on the lookout for the imps. So DPS, focus the imps. You don't need to focus that guy unless there's no imps to fight, because you do want to kill him so you can get back to boss damage as soon as this phase is over. But priority is the blood scavengers, the little imps. So as you can see, circle's moving good. Everybody's doing okay. We're gonna get some synergies, and then oh wait. The blood circle's not moving anymore, the safety circle. So now we're relying on each one of our members to call out who's in the center of the circle, so we know who to stay with, because this boss fight is glitchy as shit. Most of the time, there's only one of us can see that moving circle. There's never any time where all 4 of us can see it. Only one person can, and it just glitches in and out. So communication is the key part of beating this boss on vet. In normal mode, you're only in here for a couple seconds, and you can heal through a substantial amount of time outside of this circle. So again, there you go, the circle's glitched, but we are done the phase with that last synergy, so this is going to disappear, and then we go DPS the boss on the corner. A couple mechanics to look out for is just the stuff on the ground. when she does her big separation and there's a bunch of these spots showing up all over the ground, there's going to be a ton of little black ones coming out like that. So what you need to look out for here is where all those little black dots are going to converge at, because that's where the boss is going to reappear and try to one-shot the player that's there or just do a ton of damage. So just be aware, if you do get stuck in there and you're a DPS, you're going to die. A tank can probably live through it, a healer won't live through it. So stay out of that converging darkness that's coming out of the big split. There's no ads that come up in this phase. You just DPS her down and get back into the safety circle of doom and move on from there. Again, that circle is glitchy as shit, so don't get frustrated, just be patient, keep working through it, and you'll eventually get this boss down. That is the hardest part of this fight, is that communication for this boss fight. It really makes it difficult. It really frustrates a lot of people, especially on vet. I can't imagine doing it vet hard mode at this point until this circle glitch is fixed. I know that I get so completely frustrated with it that I didn't do this dungeon for like a month because I was just pissed off about it, because we tried so many times, and it just so happened that we got a good run where at least 2 of our guys could say where it was and tried to keep us inside of it. But even then, you know, the heat of the fight goes on, there's all these spots on the ground, ads are coming in, people are running in and out trying to make sure they don't get hit by any garbage, and then all of a sudden the circle stops moving and it takes only a couple seconds for you to realize that you're not in it, and then all of a sudden you're dead. I believe I die right away here, but my crew is pretty good and they get me back up. So there, the circle's across the room, it's not moving, I don't know where it is. We lost communication because there was just too much stuff on the ground, and the blood guy was in and stuff like that. But my guys were able to keep it in, do the last synergy, they raised me, and then me being as frustrated as I was, I made a couple other bad calls that I shouldn't have made and almost made us shit the bed and lose the instance after they brought me back up. So I'm getting my tank back up, both the other DPS die, we do a run snap res on the other DPS, and I'm running to cuts here, and I try to get him up over and over and over again instead of just healing the tank and letting our other DPS spike. Just run through the execute phase. The boss was so low, that would have been that was actually the call that that Cuts was making as he was laying on the floor dead there, but I was just refused to not try to get him up and be a part of the final couple hits on the boss, which almost resulted in our whole wipe from me being dumb. So don't be dumb healer, be smart healer, and listen to your DPS and your tanks sometimes, even though we're always right. Sometimes they just have good ideas, but that's this fight. It sucks, it's glitchy as shit, but keep at it, work with your team, good communication, and you'll get the win. But thanks for watching, hope this helps. Do you even werewolf, bro?